Hey, everybody, and welcome to tonight's Let's Talk Autism. Tonight, we got a special focus topic. It's still open discussion on the floor, but tonight's topic will be your thoughts on how your child became autistic. Were they born with autism? Do you think they were born with autism, or do you think it came way after birth from some other environmental factor? So this is in no way a means for us to be arguing or debating. It's just simply let's talk about it. Let's see where everybody thought pattern is. Um, I'm going to show a couple of videos. One doctor is on the side of genetics. The other doctor is more on the side of environmental things like foods taken in. So we're going to listen to those two in a minute when we get started. But before then, for those of you who don't know me, I am Nita. I am one of the admins of this wonderful establishment.
Everybody, I'm Linda. I'm the other admin. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Let me get Mr. Charles won't be with us tonight, or I see him in the chat. He's in the chat. Hey, Mr. Charles. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link in. I thought you weren't going to be here. And also a couple of announcements before we get started. For if you are in Detroit, got two events coming up. Make sure you check out our website, autismanus.org. They're both listed there. We have the Walking for Autism, Autism Alliance of Michigan in September. And we're also giving a mom's event in October. So keep updated. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter. When you go to the website, it should pop right up, and keep updated. Let me think. I'll do more announcements later, but let's see who's here. Hey, Tara. Hey, Cynthia.
Hi,
There's
Cynthia.
Mr. Charles.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be back in time either, but we got home in time, even
All
with stopping
right.
for dinner and everything. So I'm here.
Okay. Well, that's wonderful. Glad you could make it. Hey,
Yeah.
Teresa. Hey,
Hi,
Augie.
hi, Teresa.
There's
Hi,
Sonia.
Sonia.
Okay, you can't stay. Understood, Sonia. Understood. Hey,
Hi,
Dina.
Dina.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Latoya.
Hey, Latoya. Hey, Brenda. In
Hi,
Detroit, how
Brandon.
are you?
Hi,
Hey,
Caitlin.
Caitlin. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna um tonight's focus topic is going to be your thoughts, your own personal thoughts, and is your thoughts alone. This is in no way uh a means for us to argue or debate about it. It's just I want us to have a nice, friendly discussion. And what do you think, or why do you think your child has autism? Was the child born with it, or do you think it was something outside of birth, outside of the genes? Do you think it was caused by foods or some other environmental factor played a role? I'm going to play two videos. Both of these doctors have two different views. After the video, we will get into the discussion. First, let me make sure. I'm never prepared, you guys. Uh, Share screen. All right, give me 1 second. So we'll do Dr. Bobby Price first. Please make sure you guys listen and let me know if you can. Wait a minute. I think I did something wrong. Wait 1 second. Give me a second, guys. Okay. That's not what I want. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Share tab. Okay, audio. That's what I want. Make sure the audio was on. So we're going to share Dr. Bobby Price, his views on autism. Let me know if you can see and hear it.
Child comes out with autism. It develops. It develops around 2 and the age 3. And when you start to think about the amount of toxicity they're getting and the type of foods they're getting, I mean, it starts with baby formula because most people, unfortunately, aren't breastfeeding anymore. The breast milk enforces their immune system. So if nobody's breastfeeding and then you're feeding your baby formula for the first year, that isn't natural, and then they go straight into processed food, you got to understand how damaging that is for a 2 to 3 year period. For an adult like us, it's different when we're eating that. We have developed detoxification organs. We have a developed immune system, fully developed brain. But when you're eating this before your brain has even developed, your gut has fully developed, your immune system has fully developed, it's like setting all your wealth out on the porch. So you're bound to lose something. The unfortunate thing is the way we think about food in box, cans, jars, bags, that's not food, but we've been duped into thinking that it is food. No child comes out with autism. It develops.
Okay, so that was the first view, and I should state um, I'm sharing these videos for educational purposes only and for discussion. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to purposely infringe on copyright. So we're going to share the next one, which is Dr. Rosami. I believe I'm saying that right. But that was the first video. That was about a minute. The second video is about 4 minutes, not that long. But let's go to it. Here we go.
Autism Spectrum Disorder, Part 2. Today we're talking about what causes autism. And for those of you who are new around here, we're only using good evidence-based science, no internet crap. My background is my original education was in human physiology and developmental biology and clinical research, then medical school to become a medical doctor, and then pediatric specific subspecialty. So if you got beef with what I'm saying, you better know your stuff. But before we get to the causes, it's really important to understand what we know about autism as a disorder and what it means to the brain. See, what we've learned over the last couple decades is that children with ASD, their brains are actually wired completely different. In fact, when compared with people who don't have ASD, we know that they have totally different volumes of white and gray matter. They have different anatomy of their smooth and curved parts of their brain. They have completely different chemical compositions of their brain, and their brain lateralization and neuronal networks are completely different than people who don't have ASD. This shows us that autism is not something that happens to somebody, it's something they're born with. It's a natural variation in humans that we see that's just as natural as difference in skin tone, hair color, or the size of your nose. And when we use the term autism spectrum disorder, we're only giving it a term to describe a pattern of behaviors that we can see. And that brings us to our first point of what causes autism spectrum disorder: genetics. In fact, we know from really good studies that up to 80% of people who are diagnosed with ASD have a genetic component or genetic cause of their ASD. Now, there is a hypothesis going around called the two-hit hypothesis that supposes that some people are more predisposed to have ASD-like behavior and that an in utero or early childhood exposure might bring that out. This has to do with a field of science called epigenetics, where genes can be modified based on external exposures. For example, some people are more likely to get skin cancer like melanoma, but if they don't ever have the UV radiation from the sun, they don't develop it. But if they have enough radiation and enough mutations, then they're more likely to develop melanoma. Now, we don't have as much good research about possible chemical compounds that may cause this epigenetic change that make autism spectrum disorder more likely to show itself. But we do have a few good studies I'll show you that show some things that may have a cause or may increase the likelihood of autism spectrum disorder, and we have some things that absolutely do not. Right off the bat, being born premature might increase your likelihood of having ASD behaviors later on in life. Similarly, other birth injuries such as neonatal sepsis, meconium aspiration, anoxic brain injury might increase the likelihood of having ASD behaviors as well. Another study shows advanced parental age, both in mother and father, might also be a factor. But that does not mean just because mom and dad are old or a baby's born premature, they are definitely going to develop autism spectrum disorder. It just means that if they already had a genetic predisposition and they had one of these events, it makes it more likely for them. Additionally, some medications that mom uses during pregnancy seem to possibly increase the risk. Some seizure medications might slightly increase the risk of developing ASD. Tylenol during pregnancy has gotten a lot of press, but the evidence is really still pretty weak and really needs additional research before we consider it a possible cause. And we have really good evidence that antidepressants do not have an association with ASD in the child. And the one you're all thinking about and waiting to see, vaccines. And that one has been proven over and over and over again with very good quality evidence that vaccines have nothing to do with the development of autism spectrum disorder. So it really all comes down to genetics. So what we see as autism spectrum is just a spectrum of human behavior, primarily dictated by genetics, but influenced by the birth and early environment of that child. But stay tuned for the future parts where we'll cover diagnosis, classification, and treatment.
All right. So both of those doctors can be found on social media. Dr. Price is on YouTube and I believe TikTok. And Dr. Rosami, he was found on TikTok. I did not find a page of his on YouTube, but you guys can look them up. So let's talk about it. What are your thoughts? Let's see who's here. Linda, did you want to start the conversation or you want to go in?
No, I'll wait for somebody else to start the conversation. I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, Tara. Yeah.
Tara says, I think my son was born with autism. Okay.
You know, I find it's interesting. I think there might be some merit in what both doctors are saying. You know, now that I hear what that first doctor said, I think there might be some merit in it. I know I wasn't breastfed. I was fed formula. That was at a time when doctors were discouraging breastfeeding. And, you know, I know that. And of course, you know, the baby food and everything, you know, the manufactured baby food and everything, I got that. But at the same time, there clearly is a genetic component here. And, you know, and I know, you know, my grandson, my daughter and I both believe that he's on the spectrum, even though he's never been evaluated formally. We also believe, and my mom did too, that my brother is on the spectrum. You know, so I mean, there are relatives, and I don't have any relatives north of me, you know, family tree wise that are known or suspected to be autistic. But Temple Grandin in her book said that one factor that predisposes is having a lot of intellectuals on both sides of the family tree, and that I do have. I have doctors, professors, authors, both sides of my family tree. So, you know, that again, you know, I have that predisposing factor.
Okay. Yeah, then there's also the factor that, especially back then, people didn't know, or you just wouldn't know if you were autistic, and they may have been level 1 and just went through life, you know, not knowing what was going on in here.
I can recall a number of people I've met during my lifetime who, looking back now, I suspect were on the spectrum, although I have no way of knowing for sure. But there are a number of people, a number of guys, and a few women as well.
Okay. Hi, Tim. Caitlin says, I think my son was born with autism. There's Michelle. I agree with you. I also thinks my son was born with it. Think my son was with autism born? Okay. Could it be from mom taking drugs? I think that comes in where he mentioned something about a disruption. So the mom taking the drugs during pregnancy could have opened up that door for autism because you disrupted the child's environment. Maybe.
I remember reading something about some chemical plant or something in Massachusetts where there was a disproportionate number of cases of autism in kids, born in the cities downriver from that chemical plant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the plant was or where it was exactly. I think it was Massachusetts, but anyway,
Okay.
I remember reading that.
So Michelle says, I do not think so because then most moms would have had to take drugs. And I know a lot of autism moms who took nothing, right? I took nothing. But yeah, it still could be that possibility, that disruption, and maybe even the chemicals you breathe in. I mean,
I used
especially
to.
if you live in a well polluted area. And isn't there something also about lead? Lead can cause
Yeah.
problems.
And also, the thing that the second doctor brought out was that, like you were talking about, Nita, that disruption in the environment that they're developing in. Um,
Mhm.
some kids already had the predisposition for it, and therefore, if they have the predisposition and drugs would be a disruption, then they would be more likely to have it instead of every kid that was born to a mom
Right,
who did
right.
drugs.
Yeah, that's the thing, the genetic predisposition as opposed to a genetic sentence. Hemophilia, if you've, male who is born with the hemophilia gene in his X chromosome is going to have hemophilia. It's a life sentence once you're born with the gene. A female is a carrier if she has the gene in one of her X chromosomes. It'd be rare for a girl to have hemophilia because she would have to have a father who has hemophilia and a mother who's a carrier.
Okay. Dina says, my grandson is autistic. I know my daughter took drugs. She was on meth and took anything other kind of drugs. So I was wondering if that could have caused him to be autistic. Okay. Yeah, and again, that goes back to it's possible that disruption in utero happened.
Meaning, or most likely meaning that it affected the the potential, I guess. Not to say that it's for sure or anything, but yeah, it probably may have not been 100% the cause. It might have already been a predisposition of his that
Yeah.
was triggered
So it
by the
helped.
drug use.
Right.
Yes,
There's the
exactly.
word.
Hmm.
There's the word. Triggered. Yeah. Hi, Laura, parent of 3 adult sons on the autism spectrum. Welcome to the discussion tonight.
Yeah, welcome, Lori. Yeah, that again supports the genetic side of this because it does often run in families.
Yeah, I have a few members of my family on both sides with autism. So, and then there's always, like you said, Mr. Charles, the speculation. But with my family, it was like, you speculate because of certain behaviors they have, but they've never, been diagnosed.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, but still, you see the signs. I mean, in the case of my brother, it's not only my daughter and I both suspect that, but my mom did too. She suspected it.
Okay. Mama knew. Mamas always know there's something wrong with my baby.
And we live in a period of time, like say from 20 years from now, you'll be able to see it clearer. But we live in a time where we go to, say, if I go to my father's generation, to go before that generation to look for autism is really difficult because, like, again, there was not a diagnosis, for that.
Right.
So you almost have to go by how the family thought about them, or, things that they did. But sooner or later, it's going to come where, oh, my mom was like Emily, she's 18. My aunt was diagnosed with autism. She's of age now that there's that generations now that are diagnosed.
Right.
It's here to follow.
And of course, some of this actually autistic movement, they seize onto that genetic thing, and they claim that it's not a disorder, that it's actually a positive thing. Well, try telling that to parents who have trouble getting a good night's sleep because their child is up screaming all night.
Right. Michelle says, the first guy confused me. If you do not breastfeed, your child might get autism. I breastfed.
Yeah.
That caught my attention. I breastfed as well.
Yeah, I did half and half. So it wasn't the first 6 weeks with DeAndre, and then I just stopped. So I don't know. That's questionable. It's confusing, but questionable.
Fed 12, 13 months, but at 14 months, I seen the autism. So it, that kind of caught me. She didn't have enough time of that kind of food to, already be just, well, and then looking back, retrospect, you see things anyway. So I seen it
Right.
going back even.
Yeah, that's what I seen a lot, with DeAndre, but I always tell people when they mention the vaccines, in my case, after I was able to have a clear mind looking back, my son was a lazy baby. So the signs were there way before he reached 18 months, way before the MMR shot. So the signs were there. So yeah, just don't know. Brandon says, I believe autism can be developed after and during pregnancy from vaccines and certain foods and formula. Okay, so you believe that it can happen both ways. So the environment can be disrupted with the vaccines, or the child could be born with it, either or, right? I
The
have
second
criminal.
doctor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think the
Go
second
ahead.
doctor was saying something to that effect, where he was saying that autism-like behaviors can form from different situations, including a brain injury at birth, premature. There were certain things that there was autism-like behaviors, and then there was predisposition already there, and then autism coming. But they were kind of the way he was explaining it. I'm sure he has a deeper video on it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not sure how he would distinguish autism from autism-like behaviors. That's something that makes me wonder.
Mhm.
I wondered if he had a
Michelle
deeper video
says,
on that, because
go ahead.
you see that if autism, how he said the gray matter and the white matter in the brain is different and the chemicals are different, then technically that means that you should be able to see it on the brain scan, but really they've only seen it post-mortem. So, but that would be interesting if you could see it, and then you would be able to separate out autistic behaviors versus autism, because if there were
Right.
behaviors without the brain differences.
And Michelle says, I have criminals on. Me too, Michelle. Me too. Hi, Rachel. Rachel says, I ate organic and drank all healthy drinks, and she was nursed, and she still got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So your belief is, Rachel, do you believe it happened in utero while you were pregnant, or sometime after you gave birth?
Or did it happen at the time of conception? In other words, it's genetics purely.
Right, right. Oh, here she go. I think the autism gene runs in my family on mom's side. I have an autistic child, and my brother has 2 out of 5 kids. Okay. Thank you so much. Welcome. I think it has to come from 2 carriers because it is on both sides of my parents' family, but not on the sides of my other kids' dad's side, but on Jaden's dad's side. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jaden, I noticed that. Yep. Yeah.
And in fact, if you've got something that's like something along the lines of color blindness or hemophilia that's sex linked, that is carried an X chromosome, it's going to be just the dad's side of the family that you look at in the case of a boy. In the case of a girl, you look at both sides of the family.
Hey, Pammy. We are discussing our thoughts on how our children became autistic. What are your thoughts, Pam?
Actually, correct myself. If
Oh,
it's case of the boy, it's on the mom's side, and the mom is the one he gets the X chromosome from. He gets the Y chromosome from his dad. Yeah, I had to think about that and then realized, yeah. So, yeah, if the dad's side is involved, that indicates it's on one of the other chromosome pairs.
Okay.
Steve has color blindness it comes from your mother's side.
Andre is colorblind. Isn't that interesting? Interesting.
Yeah. You might be a carrier of the colorblind characteristic, because colorblindness is relatively rare in females. It's usually males that are colorblind, and the reason why is, again, it's carried in the X chromosome. So in other words, you're a carrier of it, and he inherited it from you.
And the funny thing is, with Andre, the way he found out, and Andre is DeAndre's dad, for those of you who don't know, but the way he found out he was colorblind, he had to do a test for high-low. He was signed up to be a high-low driver, and this was like almost 30 years ago. And he failed the testing, the sign test, and couldn't understand why. And they told him, "Oh, you're colorblind." And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Didn't know all this.
He found out too. Yeah, that's how Steve found out. He was taking a test for work, to get the job. And then they said, you didn't point out these circles and things. And he said, what circles? That's how he found out too. He was doing the exam, and
There you have it. Let's see. Hey, Danielle. And guys, guess what? I met Danielle in person today at the Miracle Leaf Field.
Hi, Danielle.
And she is such the sweetest person. So it was really, really nice seeing her in live and in person. And Michelle says, my question, what other moms had the test to see if their child may have Down syndrome? And you had a higher chance for Down syndrome, but then your child has ASD. Now, because I was older, I had to have the what you call that? Well, I didn't have to have it. Yeah, there you go, with the needle and everything to check for Down syndrome. But yeah, I'm wondering from that, why can't, well, they don't know. You would think you would be able to detect something other, than the Down syndrome.
Yeah, and Down syndrome
would have been fewer chromosomes to.
If one thing,
chromosomes would probably know to look at.
Down syndrome affects the child's appearance too. That's one of the things. So it's
not necessarily, because there's different types of Down syndrome that I just recently found out. Um, uh, I was watching something, I don't know, I think it was YouTube, where the girl was a lady, I'm sorry. She had a child with Down syndrome and she had to be tested. Didn't affect her appearance, but I forgot what they called it. It's a couple different types of Down syndrome. You that the regular look or the look of Down syndrome was not there for her and she never knew. She had some issues um, that were detectable. And but when she did the blood work and everything, they found out she also had Down syndrome, but not the same type as her child. So most commonly, yeah, you can tell a child with Down syndrome. You are so kind. I really enjoyed meeting you too, Danielle. Did we lose Linda? My test said I had an 83% chance to have uh, Downs. Okay. So you mean for yourself or for your baby? Hey, RS. Yes, my name RS, and I am colorblind. Blue, purple, green, brown, yellow. Just about all of them. Missed the part why you were talking about. Why were you talking about color blindness?
It just came
When it
up
comes
in
from
a
certain
discussion of
parents, the
genetics.
mother or the father.
Yeah. Oh, for Jaden. Okay. I didn't do the test. Okay. Yeah. So while we have a little pause here, if you are in the chat or please make sure you click that like or that love button. Help us out here. Show this algorithm that you are enjoying our live. Now, if you are in the group, if you are viewing this video in the group and you are commenting, we cannot see your comments. So please click on the video and come into the live chat. Because I know every time after we do the live and I go in the group, we have tons of comments. But click on the video and you'll be right here with us in the live chat. And please make sure you hit that like button or that love button or that care button. But please don't hit the angry button. Even laugh a little if you want. Pam said she didn't do the test. Okay. Jaden had genetic testing. He had 2 missing chromosomes and had 1 duplication. Okay.
Yeah, chromosomal defects. Yeah, that's the thing. Of course, Down syndrome is just one chromosomal defect, and there are a number of others that, and of course, they can cause all kinds of things to go haywire when you have that.
Sammy, come in here. Yeah, don't wag your tail. No. I believe my son was born having autism. His dad also has high functioning autism. Okay.
Yeah, and probably inherited it.
Please click that like button or that love button. It helps the algorithm and helps everybody else see us around. While we have a little pause also here, it is still open discussion, so you guys can throw whatever questions you have in the chat. But I do want to make the announcements once again. We are doing the Walk for Autism with Autism Alliance of Michigan at the Detroit Zoo, and we are looking for teammates. So if you are in the Metro Detroit area, make sure you sign up for our team, Autism and Us, of course. You can go to our webpage, autismandus.org, scroll down, and you will see October 1st, we are doing an Autism Mom event. It will be free for our autism moms. If you are interested, the sign up for that will be coming up soon. You can reach out to me and let me know you wanna come. But it will be by ticket, even though it's free. We're gonna have tickets. We're gonna have raffle. We're gonna give away a big, nice basket of self-care goodies and some cash. We're also gonna have food, mimosas. It's called sweatpants and mimosas. Prizes. If you'd like to donate to this event, products, resource cards, or anything, reach out to me and let me know. If you want to donate some self-care products for the moms, if you can't come, maybe you want to give, we are accepting it all to help make this a success. If you can give monetarily, we have donate button up at the top of our Facebook main page, as well as I have a fundraiser going just for the event. It is at the top in the featured page section in the main group, as well as the main page. Can't give money or can't give anything else, that's quite all right. You can set up a fundraiser dedicated to Autism and Us. That would be perfect. And share it. Let people know about the event coming up. If you'd like to speak at the event, if you're someone who'd like to speak about self-care for our moms, come on and join us. Or not join us, but let me know. And that's it. That's all for the announcements. Make sure you guys are clicking that like button. Let's see. Pam says Ralph showed signs from the beginning. He was dropped by a friend when he was 3 months. So I just,
Yeah, you don't know if that could have caused brain damage.
Right.
You just don't know.
Danielle says, I'm late because I thought you were sleepy, huh? But I had some genetic testing done, but there were no indicators that I was made aware of. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Linda, you still there? She's still there.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
No.
yeah. I can hear you. Did Mr. Charles say no? Oh. So, did anyone else in the chat have the genetic testing done?
The test done for the Down syndrome, nothing came back.
Or autism? Did you have genetic testing?
I just had that where they look for Down syndrome, and there was a couple of different things. Trisomy 21 for Down syndrome was one of them. Anyways, nothing came back. And then when I was 37 weeks, they did another amniocentesis. Nothing came back.
Okay.
Emily was born with a hematoma on the back of her head. It was really big. And they gave me the paperwork explaining what the risk factors were and development. There were a couple different things, but so I could never really know if it had to do with that or not as well. Okay.
So yeah, with me, the age thing, because I was like 38, so that was the first thing the doctor told me. You're at risk because of your age. And the other thing was that had always, because you go to blaming yourself for a lot of things you may have done wrong. But another thing was I've worked in a plant, for many, many years. So it was always that thought of the fumes. I worked in an older plant where it was fumes every day. Um, um, they tore it down now, but what do you call that stuff? Asbestos, whatever it is. But that was when I first started, and I was only in that plant for a few years. But yeah, you always go back and think, what did I do wrong? But I have 3 older children that are just fine.
Autism seems
And
like when they say it's developmental, it could be environmental. I mean, not developmental, sorry, genetic, environmental. I think it almost is like a perfect storm because they have to have the predisposition, they have to have the trigger. It's almost like, just like I said, like a perfect storm to all the pieces to fall like that. And I think that's why a lot of us have kids who have it and who don't have it.
Brandon said, does anyone have a child who has autism that did not get vaccinated? Everyone I met who has a child with autism all have been vaccinated. Never heard. Oh, I've heard of plenty of children who haven't gotten vaccinated and still have autism. I've actually talked to a few moms that don't believe in vaccinations, but their children still have autism.
And speaking for me too, the vaccine that's most frequently been named for autism is the MMR vaccine, which vaccinates against measles, mumps, and rubella. When I was little, that vaccine didn't exist. No, in fact, no vaccine existed against even any one of those 3 illnesses. And I managed not to get mumps ever. I got rubella. My sister caught a bad case of measles, and so they gave me a gamma globulin shot that was a dosage that was designed to keep me from getting a severe case of measles. So I got a mild case of measles. And, the idea was so I would develop immunity to it. But, and all that happened after I was already showing symptoms of autism anyway. But the only thing I was vaccinated against as a baby was smallpox. And, I also got tetanus vaccine too as a baby. But, even the polio vaccine, that came out when I was 7. By that time, I was already showing clear symptoms of autism. So, if any vaccine caused my autism or contributed to it, it would have been smallpox or diphtheria or tetanus. And all of those are deadly diseases that, you don't want to risk catching. You don't want to risk your child catching. You can debate about measles, mumps, and rubella, but tetanus, that's deadly, and smallpox is deadly.
Mm-hmm. I worked at a plastic manufacturing plant myself. Plus, I was older and my cholesterol was high.
This comment you were reading, and I was like, man, that's just like our situation. I didn't see that it was him.
I know some kiddos who were not vaccinated and are on the spectrum. Yeah. Because a lot of parents, they don't vaccinate their kids for religious reasons. And, it still happens. If it's there, it's there. And what I'm mad about, when I was growing up, they didn't have a vaccine for chickenpox. And I had got 2 different strains of chickenpox twice. And actually, they didn't come out with the chickenpox vaccines, I think, till after I don't even think Jasmine had it, and she was born in '92. I know they had it when Ari was.
94, I believe, because our daughter was born in 93. She got it when she was
Okay.
1. Yeah. And it
Hmm.
was new because they were saying, it was
Yeah.
kind of scary. Yeah, so Steve mentioned a couple risk factors, and then I mentioned the hematoma, and
Okay.
we both believe that there's probably autism on both sides of our families.
Okay. Danielle says, I took Tylenol, I fed them baby food, I supplemented with formula, I had an amnio, they were vaccinated, son's leg count was tested later. I asked my husband which lawsuit should be filed. I was 29, by the way. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and there's a lot. They are coming now. Well, the Tylenol thing has been out for years. People are just, it's like it's just being pushed now. Starting to see a lot of the baby food lawsuits. Um, and it was another guy on here that was mentioning, I forgot what it was. It was something else to add to that list.
Went
It'll
after
come.
insecticides for schools for a bit too.
Oh wow.
If you lived in a radius of a school, a certain mile radius,
Mm-hmm.
that was a big thing. We lived in the middle of 4 different schools too. So, when I saw that, I was like, oh man,
Oh wow.
there's just so many different
So
things.
many. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, Teresa. I hope you feel better.
Better,
Yeah,
Teresa.
yeah. You take care, Teresa. Yeah,
They had brought up the plastic pellets that workers I work with as something they thought caused autism. Oh wow. Plastic
That was
pellets.
called plastic, yeah.
Filed them all. Yep. Filed them all. Oh, and she says I was also diabetic. Okay. I
That's another thing, yeah.
yeah, I was they didn't catch mine till afterwards. So they called it post eclampsia. But I had the doctor apparently wasn't paying attention. But I had preeclampsia
Yeah.
while I was pregnant. Um, Brandon said, "Do you guys think it's a way to revert?" No, no,
no,
no. I, no. If you have autism, a child with autism is going to be an adult with autism. Maybe a change, a diet. No, it's hard to get our children to eat healthy foods. He loves pizza, chicken nuggets, fries, and anything sweet. Yeah, that's most of our kids, but no, no, it's just they're just different. That's all. They're like the doctors say, their brains are wired, and I don't know. That irks me when I hear people say that they're you can change. You know, they are who they are. They are who they are. Mr. Charles, let
yeah,
them know you are an adult with autism.
yeah, yeah. That's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't grow out of it, and I mean, changing diet that doesn't cure autism. I mean, my problem with the quest for a cure, it's not that I take offense with the idea of a cure. Some of these quote unquote actually autistic groups, they get really offended by it. I don't take offense at it. Just I know it's not realistic.
All right. Um, I know some people who claim to have recovered their. Yes, I've heard that too. I've heard that too. A lot of those recovery specialists are just out to get in your pocket too. So you have to be careful, you guys. I'm not saying what you should or shouldn't do, but if you are one of those parents or who is looking for some sort of miracle, just be careful. There are people um, who are what they call it snake oil, selling snake oil. So just be careful. Do your research. before you do anything, before you go in your pocket for any type of solution. Just do your research. My kid loves green food, broccoli, and avocado are his favorite. Wow, yeah, he really does
Wow.
eat healthy. Broccoli?
Girl, I
Wow.
know.
I liked broccoli and I liked avocados growing up.
Did you? But you didn't like tomatoes.
No, I still don't. And tomatoes are gross.
What? What
Producing
you
plenty of
doing?
tomatoes right now. We have a garden and we have too
Oh
many.
yeah.
We were talking about dropping some off to Charles, but
He loved
we
that.
wasn't. Yeah, of course.
Hi, Alita. I don't think it's necessarily recovered, but more of the child has learned to mask. Just my opinion. Yeah, so if they're learning to mask, that's not going to do them any good.
And I don't like the word term masking. I've said it before. I don't feel I've ever masked my autism. I haven't made any effort to cover it up. I feel I've adapted to the world around me.
I love my Ralph just the way he is. Yes. Same way I feel. I wouldn't know what to do at this point in our life. If DeAndre was to change, I get offended because it means our kiddos are sick. They are different, not sick. You cure illness. Thank you, Michelle. You
Yeah.
cannot cure autism. A child with autism will become an adult with autism.
Well,
Period.
here's why I don't get offended. It's because you don't just cure an illness. You also can cure a disability that's like blindness, for example. Some types of blindness caused by certain things can be cured. And if I were blind and my blindness could be cured, I would want the cure. If I were deaf, some deafness can be cured with cochlear implants. If I were deaf and it could be cured with a cochlear implant, I'd take it. Some in the deaf community view someone who accepts a cochlear implant as a traitor, and they shun them, and that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
My daughter was telling me about that nonsense.
There you go, Mr. Charles.
Oh, gross.
Oh, I think my adopted son was born autistic. Although his APGAR score was 10, he later was malnourished into a coma at 3 months old and malnourished a second time at 5 after the judge returned him back to his biofam. It just increased his disabilities, which are different than his autistic traits. Is there more to that, Linda? Are you on the Facebook or no? I just want to make sure.
I don't think so because it didn't show the
Oh, okay.
dots.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, everybody, I'm going to open up the floor. This was a great discussion. It was nice and calm, no arguing. See, we can talk like adults. Um, but this was a great one. We're going to do these more often. So I'm opening up the floor right now for anyone who wants to come up and share something. If you want to share something inspirational, motivational, if you have a business, it has to, have to be about related to autism. Come on up and tell us about it. If you have an organization or you're selling shirts or trinkets and you want to share with our community, come on up. I'm going to put the link in the chat to the StreamYard. You are more than welcome. We have a couple minutes left. Have a great evening, Nita, Charles, and Linda. You too, Pammy.
You too, Pam.
Have a great evening. come on up. And before you leave, you guys, make sure you hit that like or that love or that care. Show us some love. Show us some love. And I also want to thank Danielle once again. It was great seeing you out at the Miracle League field. You are awesome and a beautiful person. Thank you so much for your help. I appreciate you. And I look forward to us doing lunch real soon. Bamba says, this was awesome. I'm so glad I found this. All good. Every Sunday, same time, same place. We'll be right here. Open discussion. We might have throw in a focus topic for the evening, but we are here every Sunday except for holidays. So I hope to see you next time, Bamba. So the link is in the chat. Anyone want to come up? Feel free. The floor is yours. If you want to share something awesome, good news, bad news, you got a business, an organization, you want to talk about and tell the community about, come on down. Come on down. Want to share something, anything. We use these last few minutes as an open floor. All right. Awesome. Brandon says, I enjoyed chatting with everyone and learned a lot. Much love. Good night, guys. Good night, Brandon, and thank
Good night,
you.
Brandon.
Take care.
Hope to see you next time. And you guys, if you ever have a topic you'd like us to focus on for any of our Sunday night lives, please just reach out to us and let us know. This is something we'd like to talk about or you'd like to talk about. Bamba said, hoping one evening we can discuss, and there we have self-harm. Okay, we'll make that for next Sunday. That'll be our focus topic for next Sunday. Okay. So no one wants to come up. Okay, guys. We're going to close it out for this evening. I want to thank each and every one of you. Oh, Michelle has a final thought. Let's be honest. You are worth it. You are loved more than you know. You are stronger than you think. You got this. Take time to recover your energy. You are the voice for those who do not have a voice. Thank you for that, Michelle. I love it. I love it. Amy says, have a great evening, guys. I love that I can come in here and everyone knows what it's like in my household. How about talking about or with single parents of autistic children and adults? Okay, we'll put that on the list too, Amy. Thank you. We'll do a single parent. Danielle says, self-care. Say yes to yourself this week. Yes. Mocha says, thanks for adding me. I'll definitely be back next time. Thank you for tuning in, Mocha. And amen. All right.
Hey, Bamba.
Okay, everybody, on that note, any last words, Linda?
Everybody have a great week and take care of yourself.
All right, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, everybody have a good week, and take care. And I guess we'll be back next Sunday.
All right, see you guys next Sunday. Thank each and every one of you. If you're watching the replay, still hit that like button as you come in. See everybody next week, same time, same place. I appreciate each and every one of you. Bye-bye.
Okay.